Hey everyone, it's Deb with iClimb. Welcome. And I want to talk a little bit before we get started about your mindset with all of this. I know that you've got struggles with Parkinson's, and even if you don't have Parkinson's, as you age, you have issues. But I want you to really understand that just because you are where you are, that doesn't mean you have to stay there. Realize that your body was meant to heal itself. Muscles have memory, and you just have to know what to do to get them there. So don't settle into that, you know, I'm going to, or I'm already here and I'm never going to, and I can't, I won't, I'm not going to be able to. I want you to say, I'm going to get back to that, especially if there's something that you need to do, functionally want to do, whether it's getting in and out of the car, going up and down the stairs, being able to stand for a little longer period of time, gardening or whatever. Just realize there are things that you can do to get that back. So rather than have the negativity and the glass is half empty mentality, I want you to have the glass is half full mentality, but we're going to fill that up so you can get back what you want to do. That being said, even if you don't have a whole lot of time, and I know especially this time of year is extremely busy with gardening and people having graduations and things like that, understand that there are simple things you can do if you're riding in the car, before you get out of bed, while you're sitting, and everyone sits, including me, which I don't like, but I need to for certain reasons. So understand there are things that you can do so that when you go to get up, you can make things easier, your back's not as stiff, etc. So what we're going to do, again, I want you to work on your mindset. We're going to start with your feet, which is your foundation. Every single day you need to work on your feet. If your feet are an issue, you've got problems in your hips, because you can't disconnect the two, and vice versa. So if we work on your hips, it'll help your feet. If we work on your feet, it'll help your hips as well. So we're going to work on the activation of all those nerves on the bottom of your feet. If you look at reflexology, it's a perfect map from the brain to the colon, and a lot of you have neuropathy. So we're going to activate those. We're going to do basically what I call a leg drop. You're going to grab one leg. You're not going to lean forward. You're going to sit up straight, engage those paraspinals, which is the muscles on either side of your spine, which is your core. And you're just going to make this dead weight, and you're going to drop that leg. And you're going to lift, and you're going to drop. And you'll feel that tingling in the bottom of your feet, and maybe even all the way up your leg, and that's a good thing. But this actually stimulates the nervous system and all those nerves in the bottom of your feet. Even your organs have nerves in the bottom of your feet, every single one of them. So you're going to drop, and you're going to do that several times. Really pay attention, just periodically check your posture, that you're not doing this, and don't just make sure that you make it dead weight. In other words, you're not stomping, this is dead weight, and it's almost like you'll feel a little bounce, but you'll feel that tingling. And I especially want to make sure you get into the heel, because some of you, it'll kind of look like this. Really make sure that you let that drop and make it dead weight. Look guys, we can make gravity work in our favor. This is a perfect example. And all I'm doing is stimulating the nerves in the bottom of the feet. And clearly you'll want to do that, I would say at least 15 to 20 times on each side. Pay attention to your posture, keep the shoulders back, and keep the head up. So stability muscles, and all of those muscles have a stability component or a stability job, is literally just isometric contraction to hold your musculoskeletal system in place. That's what my paraspinals are doing right now, to hold my head and hold my back up. So I'm going to do 3 more here. Drop, and 2, and 3. Now, some of you are going to feel it in your hip flexors too, and that's perfectly fine, because that group, those 3, are part of lifting your leg. That's also things that help you go up the stairs, and that's what initiates gait and bring that leg forward. So that's perfectly fine. Now, after we do that, we're going to go to anterior, posterior tilt. Most of you have posterior tilt. You're limited in your hips. Remember, this is your driver. This is what drives the legs. And when most of you start shortening your gait, this all shuts down. This is your fulcrum point. This is where everything should come from. Low abdominals, you're going to come back. And guys, this is something you need to be doing every day, several times a day. Belly button forward, anterior tilt. And you're going to drop back, and you're going to open it up. Now, some of you are going to have a little tightness in your low back, and that's perfectly fine. What you're doing is getting the muscles on the right and the left side to work bilaterally or together, and the more you do that, the less tightness you're going to have. So I always say you have 3 goals with everything I give you. 1 is decreased tension, tightness, or discomfort. 2 is increased range of motion, all right? Because your range of motion is directly related to your functional ability. And then the last thing is fluidity of movement. Sometimes you're going to feel like I get to a certain point and it gets stuck, or there's a stuck point. The more you do that, the less of that you should feel. And people always say, how many times should I do it? That depends on you. If it's really tight, you keep doing it. If you feel like it keeps getting better and you're gaining range of motion and it's really helping, continue to do it. This is the kind of stuff you can't do too much of. It's functional, it's foundational. This is one you can do on your back. This is one you can do in the car. I do this if I'm traveling long distances, is periodically I will just do pelvic tilts. Again, anterior, belly button forward. Now notice what's happening with my shoulders. And what that will tell you is the upper and the lower body, the entire kinetic chain from occipital ridge to my tailbone is working as a group, as it should. If you are rotated, whether it's in the torso or the hips or your thoracic offset, which is torso not sitting square over the hips, the upper and the lower body's not connecting. This is one to help that happen. This is also why it's going to help your balance, because now you're going to recenter yourself. But again, as this goes forward, my hips are in extension. I've got that curve in my back. I've also got, I'm opening my chest, that's thoracic extension, and those two are working together. Open the shoulders, and if you feel a tug, that's perfectly fine. That just means muscles on the back side are working. And guys, you may feel like this is watching the paint dry, but you cannot do too much of this. It is, again, foundational to everything else that you do. The body has to be in alignment in order for proper movement, proper function, and it'll help decrease tension, tightness, and discomfort. So increased range of motion. I added the shoulders. As I go to anterior tilt, pull the shoulders back, and I'm paying attention to my head. A lot of you are going to do this. Do not allow that to happen. What you're doing is fighting against yourself. If I pull my chest forward, the muscles in my upper back are shortening and tightening. When my head goes forward, those muscles are lengthening. They have to work together. So as and I'm going to scoot sideways here, as I pull my shoulders back, my head is up too. Now I have that curve here. I don't want that to be flat. Now I'm working against myself. I want, again, that whole kinetic chain to work as a unit. So we're going to do anterior tilt, shoulders back, head up. And you can keep doing that. And some of you are going to feel a little tightness back there in the cervical spine. Remember, learn to discern, is it tight because it needs to be loosened, or is it tight because it's contracting to hold my spine, my hip, my shoulder, whatever, into the position where it's supposed to. So there's some body awareness involved here. So you're rocking back, pulling the shoulders back, bringing the head up. And again, I would say no less than 20 or 25 of these, easily. And again, if it's still tight, keep working it. And I always say try to get down on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being none, 10 being the most. If you have a lot of tightness, let's say a 7 or an 8, try to get down to at least a 3, because it will make whatever you do next that much easier, okay? So the other thing that I always remind people is your body's most functional angles is 90 degrees. It's like a contractor, you know, when you're building a building or whatever, things have to be plumbed, they have to be 90 degrees. This is no exception. You have muscles that work together as a group. So we worked anterior, posterior, we worked those paraspinals, all right? So now we're gonna work those muscles under the glute that work with the paraspinals. So again, this is one you can do on your back. We're gonna do this in sitting. You're gonna put your feet together on this one, all right? And I want it together because some of you are here, especially the guys. We have to have equal balance in terms of tension on medial and lateral. We're gonna start here. And now what you're going to do, again, sitting up nice and tall, is you're going to roll those knees open onto the sides of your feet. Those of you who are pronated, in other words, your ankles collapse to midline, this is going to help. You may feel a little stretch on the outside of that ankle, lower leg. That's perfectly fine. And then we're going to close it back up. Make sure you close it all the way. You're going to roll that open. The muscles that are moving that femur are under your glute. Don't focus on your legs. Notice what my hips are doing. As I open that leg, look how my lumbar spine wants to go to anterior tilt. It should. Don't fight that. That curve belongs there. And you're going to close it up, and we're going to open it. Pay attention to what's going on from the rib cage up as well. And close it and open it. Let's focus a little bit more now that we've got this. Let's focus a little bit more on the shoulders and the head. And we're going to close it up, and we're going to open it. Now we're working the vertical muscles as well as the horizontal ones together. That's core. Opening and closing. And again, if you start to feel tightness, ask yourself, is it because it should be tight? Because that's what's going to hold that spine in the position where it belongs. Most of you have lost that lumbar curve. It belongs there. You can even just lie with a bath towel rolled up underneath, with your knees bent and your feet flat for maybe 10 minutes and allow that to settle and bring that curve back. There's easy ways that don't require a lot of effort to bring that back. And you're going to close all the way, adductors. The other thing we're getting here too is getting this kinetic chain from the foot to the hip to work as a unit. A lot of you, your feet are here, your knees want to collapse, you have hip rotation, so nothing works on the same track. If you look at this as being wheels, they're not all going on the same path. That's extra energy, that's where you get discomfort in the knees, the ankles, the hips, etc., etc. We want these to all work in the same direction at the same time. This is also what you're getting. You're teaching everything to work laterally, outside of the foot, all the way to the outside of the hip and even to the sacrum. And close it up, and open it up, and close it up, and open it up. And I highly recommend this is one every single one of you do every single day, because one of the things I've realized is some of the weakest muscles people have are those muscles underneath the glute that open the hips, that open, externally rotate the femur. Close and open and close and open, and we're going to do two more. And I would say, again, remember what I said about decreased tightness. If you're feeling any tightness through here or here, decreased tension, tightness, or discomfort, increased range of motion, you'll feel like you can open a little further, especially in the feet. This will help foot ankle mobility as well. And then you're going to realize that your fluidity of movement, in other words, going from closing to opening, is getting a little easier. You shouldn't have to think about it as much. That's where the neurotransmitters come in. In other words, your brain and your muscles are connecting with each other. And last one, and we're going to open. All right, we're going to move on to the upper body. Ton of things you can do there. Go buy yourself a playground ball for $1 at the dollar store, okay? Make sure it's not real tight, because we want to do some things with arms, but we're also going to be able to squeeze it, hold on to it if you need to. Sometimes if it's too tight, you may have to let the air out of it. All right, one of the best things you can do, you guys, and again, this is kind of a lazy man's exercise, is you're going to take this ball and you're going to put it behind you. We're going to go scoot your hips back as far as they can go, almost like you're trying to push your hips back behind your shoulders. Look at my thoracic extension. It's already open because I'm trying to squeeze my shoulder blades around that ball. And I'm pushing 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, and then I release. And I push against that ball. And you may notice that you feel it in your low back. That's perfectly fine. All you're getting is that whole paraspinal, that whole kinetic chain, those core muscles to work as a unit. That's perfectly fine. And release. Pay attention to your feet position. Push. And you may feel like you're pushing through your feet. That's fine too. Now you're loading. Keep this up. Remember what I said, make sure your head goes with your torso. Don't fight against yourself. And you're going to push against that ball until you don't feel any tightness or minimal discomfort in the front of those shoulders. Endurance. Those muscles have to be reminded to stabilize you. In other words, isometric contraction to hold your spine, hold your shoulders, hold your head right where it belongs in an upright position. Push and release. And we're going to push against that ball, open up the shoulders, make sure, and some of you are going to feel like you're going to slide. What you have to do is use your low abdominals to keep yourself back there. That's again an isometric contraction, because if this is weak, as soon as you push, you're going to feel like you're going to slide. Make sure those hips are behind you so that you've got nice lumbar curves, thoracic curves, and cervical as well. And we're going to do 3 more. And 3, and 2. And this should feel very natural. And 1. And release. Here's what I want you to do. Before you sit down, I want you to kind of assess where you are, what's tight, what you feel, how easy it is to walk, where your weight distribution is. Look, guys, you can't change what you're not aware of. So before you go into all this, or anything else for that matter, any of the sequences, assess where you are, then get up, start to walk around. I know yesterday with one of my clients, as soon as she stood up, and she's only in her 40s, she said, "Oh, that's profound." We didn't do a whole lot of real heavy-duty lifting things. We did a lot of stuff like this because we changed how muscles are working. We took out compensation patterns. That's really important. So again, mindset. Let's get you to where you want to go. So I'll see you again soon.